About maybe 40 years ago, I'm sitting and I'm watching a movie and the phone rings and one of my friends says to me, my son died. He was only like 17. Died? How did he die? He just had a heart attack. We need 5 people in the mortuary to wash the corpse and then to bury the body. Can you do that for us? Can you be one of the 5? Sure. So the mother is wailing and screaming, but he is leaning against a tree, folded arms, no expression. He dealt with this in a very stoic way. And so time passes, he finds himself at Arco, getting some gas for the car, and all of a sudden he breaks down. We say, what's going on? He just breaks down. So he was holding the grief inside him for maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks until he could do no more. So he just breaks down in the middle of nowhere. He came to visit me a couple of weeks ago from Los Angeles. And while we were playing some music, all of a sudden the experience that both of us had, him as a father, me as a friend, and I suppose a washer of a corpse, we began to talk about this. And he was able to express his grief in such a rational, eloquent, insightful, beautiful way. But it took him 30 years. To simplify, I suppose, your question, consider the soul to be nothing but a very rich emotion inside you. For some strange reason, life just pushed it inside you. It's kind of like, the story that we've been told by Jean-Jacques Rousseau, where you're born, you laugh, you cry. There is no shame in walking around naked and peeing on your dad's face. You just do it because it's just organic. That's what you do. Okay. Little by little, society tells you that there are certain do's and don'ts. You program. That's your software. Wherever your culture is, whoever your parents are. So if you, for example, watch your father scream at your mom all the time, that becomes your software. So now what has happened to you and to me and everybody in this classroom is we no longer just have belly laughs anymore. It's far too difficult because life is just burdensome. The moment you wake up, you shower, you get dressed, you drag your story behind to this class, then you have to kind of tolerate me, then you tolerate the story behind to another class, then you have a job, then you have crummy friends, then you have parents telling you things you don't really want to hear, then you have your friends telling you things, you look yourself in the mirror, you look like crap. So you have all the stuff. There is no room for laughter. All you can do is just grin once in a while. And all of a sudden you're sitting by your laptop, listening to some comedian, and he says something or she says something very profound. It's sardonic, it's a satire, it's something about life, but they kind of express it in a very poetic way. And for the first time in many, 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 many months, if not years, you begin to have belly laugh. I mean, you laugh with your soul. And then when it passes, you sit back and you say, how come I can't do that more often? And I suppose the point I'm trying to make is, and you don't have to make this into a religious ideology or language. So imagine a soul being like this deep, rich emotion inside you. And it longs to come out. And we bring it out in all sorts of ways. I mean, your desire to be in touch or to be in the presence of beauty, however you want to define it. It's something that just engulfs you, consumes you, gives you a connection to something sublime. It's like you're next to God. And so life has its own agenda. Your emotion has a different agenda. Your emotion says, I want a platform or a physical environment that has all the right components so I can come out. Where you want to just cry, or you want to laugh, or you want to look at your dad and say, Dad, I love you, I forgive you, all those things. But life has a different agenda, which is life which wants to keep you distracted with its own ridiculous things. And then you get to be my age, you look back and you say, man, life crapped all over me. And then this self-hatred, I can't do much about it. I'm far too old now. I don't have the energy to fix or reinvent myself. And let me also add that most of the things we talk about in this class, people didn't think about or talk about for thousands of years. Because the culture will just give you answers. Whatever your issues are, the culture has like this Costco of narratives. You just go to the right aisle, pick the right stuff off the shelf, you consume it with your intellect, your emotions, and it's finished. It's like my father right now is 92. He's just gonna die. And I mean, it's very, very healthy, but you know, you're up there. So what's gonna happen when he passes is that for at least maybe 3-4 months, my mom will never be left alone. Never. Not even for a moment. Everybody's gonna wear black. She's gonna get phone calls all the time. And you realize, well, this is what the culture does. It has understood grief, it has understood loss, it understood how people suffer in grief. So what does the culture do? Over time it says, you know what? We're gonna just create these like rituals and make sure that these rituals remain protected. No Trump, no Hitler, no Mussolini, no George Bush, no Obama can destroy these narratives. And so what happens is the intensity of grief that my mom will eventually experience will lessen in time. It'll become more digestible. And she has people around her to talk to about her loss. Once this emotion inside you comes out, what you'll discover is you don't really have the language. I mean, first, this emotion, when it comes out, what it runs against is life. I was dismissed from one of the colleges I used to work at. It's like 25 years ago. And one of the complaints that parents had made to the dean and ultimately the vice president was that my kids are dropping all of their classes and just going to his. And this was a time where we had face-to-face classes only. And I was young enough to teach like 10, 15 classes a day. Okay, so I would be on campus from like 5 in the morning all the way till 10. And then students would come to my house for more conversation. And what you realize is that when you're inspired and when you want to express that inspiration, but you don't have the proper vehicle, you use another human being to see your own self in them. Okay. Now, what usually happens is your life, your physical life, a life that needs money, a life that needs rent, a life that needs food, a life that needs friendships, okay? All those things are put on pause, they're stopped. So inspiration always goes against life because life is mechanical. Life demands things. Life makes you responsible for things you don't want to do. So what happens with inspiration is that life is eventually going to walk all over it. And if you don't have someone or support system to protect it, it'll be gone. It's going to take you some time for this inspiration to mature. And then you have to do a lot of listening, to do a lot of reading, to a lot of applying what you're reading and feeling, only to fail miserably. And if you have the patience, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, I mean, that's being healthy, having a solid platform. After maybe 5, 10, 15, 20 years, you'll be able to express yourself relatively well. If I was to give you perhaps a more tactile example, I would use, I have 2 friends in this room. They're like you. They came to class, a GE requirement. For some strange reason, they were attracted to certain ideas. But it wasn't just liking an idea. They began to like it more and more and more and more. And you know how it starts, like you look at someone, you like them, then you like him more, then you like him more and more, then you really, really like him, then you love him. And the moment you love him, is as if like all the other people on this planet are no longer an option for you. They're off the table. For the first time in your life, you become intellectually and emotionally monogamous. But sometimes you doubt. And this doubt creates fear. Do I really want to go there? You know, he's like 90 and I'm only 20. And these things happen to people. So once I came to realize that these are people who are hooked. In other words, they really enjoy these ideas and they can't live without them. So, well, you know, I've been on this road. I know how things work. In the sense that these ideas are going to get you pregnant. If you're pregnant and you don't give labor, you'll die. And I'm using pregnancy as a metaphor. You have all these emotions inside you. They need to come out. So what do you do for these emotions to come out? Well, you need a master's degree. Why? You need to go into the classroom. Why? Not to talk about humanities or philosophy, religious studies, but you use those branches of knowledge to kind of express what lives inside you in a very poetic, maybe rational, maybe even intellectual way. And as you get better, you realize, well, you have less pressure on the inside. And even if there is pressure, you can express them creatively. But it takes time. And it may, you may come to realize you're just no good at expressing certain ideas. And that's okay too. There is no quick and easy or cheap way to possess things that have some value.